Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact moment my marriage died. Not the funeral, not the burial, but the actual moment the heart stopped beating. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no throwing plates, no discovering texts from another man. It was quieter than that. Deadlier, too. My name is Brian Carlson. I'm 48 years old, and for the past 17 years, I've made a living helping companies merge, split, and restructure. I analyze assets, assess liabilities, and determine fair value. I'm good at it because I understand something fundamental. Most things fall apart long before anyone admits it. The paperwork just makes it official. I should have applied that wisdom to my own life. Courtney and I have been married for 15 years. She brought Madison into the relationship, her daughter from her first marriage to Greg Hamilton. Madison was 5 when we met, 20 now, and finishing her junior year at Northwestern. Smart kid. Kind, too. For years, I thought maybe that's what kept us together. Me being the stable father figure she never had. Courtney appreciating the structure I provided. I was wrong. The night it ended, I came home around 7:30. Normal Tuesday. I'd closed a deal that afternoon. A clean acquisition worth $42 million. I felt good. Loose. I wanted to share that with my wife. Maybe crack open a decent bottle of wine. Sit on the back deck we'd refinished together 3 summers ago. Courtney was in the living room, scrolling through her phone. The TV played something she wasn't watching. I walked over, arms open for our usual evening hug. Nothing grand, just that small daily gesture that says I'm home. I'm here, I'm yours. She stepped back. Not a flinch, not a stumble. A deliberate, measured step backward like I tried to hand her something contaminated. Don't touch me, Courtney said, her voice flat and administrative. I'm not playing wife tonight. The words hung there, sterile and final. Not a complaint, not even an insult, just a job description she was clocking out of. I stopped moving. My arms were still half raised, frozen in the space where she should have been. For maybe 3 seconds, I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline, the clarification, the just kidding, bad day at work. None came. Perfect, I said quietly. My hands dropped to my sides. You never will be again. Her eyes widened slightly. Just a flicker of confusion, like she'd expected a different script. An argument. Maybe. Pleading. The usual dance where I'd ask what was wrong. She'd deflect, and we'd pretend it never happened by morning. But I was done dancing. I turned and walked down the hallway. Past the framed photo of our wedding day in Napa. Past the bookshelf I'd built by hand when we first moved into this house. Past the closed door of what used to be my home office before Courtney decided it should be her yoga room. I opened the guest bedroom door, stepped inside, and locked it behind me. The click of the lock was soft, polite even, but in that silence, it sounded like a gavel. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. No anger, no sadness, just a strange, cold clarity, the kind I usually reserve for balance sheets and due diligence reports. Liability identified, risk assessed, time to restructure. Courtney didn't knock that night, didn't text, didn't call through the door asking if I was okay. And honestly, that told me everything I needed to know. By morning, she probably assumed I'd be back in the kitchen making coffee, asking what she meant, waiting for her to smooth it over with some half-hearted excuse about being stressed or hormonal or tired. That's how it always went. I'd poke, she'd snap, I'd absorb. We'd reset, but I wasn't resetting anything. When she walked into the kitchen the next morning, the coffee was already brewed. 1 cup poured. Hers. I'd eaten earlier, alone, out on the porch with my laptop. She stared at the single mug like it was evidence in a trial she didn't know she was part of. I didn't look up from my screen. You're being dramatic, she said, not even glancing away from her phone. I took a sip of my own coffee, the one I brought outside. You said you're not playing wife. I'm just respecting the performance. She scoffed. God, 1 comment and you act like I committed a crime. I finally looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in years, I saw her clearly. Not as my wife. Not as Madison's mother. Just as someone I've been carrying for too long. You didn't commit a crime, I said evenly. You just quit. I'm accepting your resignation. I stood, walked back into the guest room, and locked the door again. That's when she realized this wasn't a fight. It was an exit strategy, and I'd already drafted the terms. Courtney expected the usual pattern. A day or 2 of cold shoulder, then I'd crack, apologize for overreacting, and we'd slip back into our routine. That's how it always worked. Except I wasn't following the script anymore. Day 2. I got up at 5:30, same as always. Made coffee. Only enough for me. I ate breakfast on the patio, reviewing client files for an upcoming merger between two pharmaceutical distributors. The numbers were clean. The deal would close smooth. When Courtney came downstairs around 7, she found the kitchen empty. No second mug waiting. No plate set out. Just the faint smell of coffee that had already been consumed. She walked to the patio door and stared at me through the glass. "Are we seriously not going to talk about this?" she asked. I didn't look up from my laptop. Just kept scrolling through the asset evaluation spreadsheet. "Brian." Her voice had an edge now. "This is ridiculous." I took a sip of coffee. Kept reading. She stood there for another 30 seconds, waiting for me to blink first. When I didn't, she huffed and walked back inside. I heard the cabinet door slam, the microwave beep, her car start in the driveway 10 minutes later. I didn't move. That evening, I came home at 6. Courtney was already there, reheating leftovers. I walked straight to the guest room, changed into workout clothes, and went for a run. 5 miles. When I got back, I showered in the guest bathroom, made myself a turkey sandwich, and ate it in my room while catching up on emails. At 9:15, she knocked. "Brian, come on. This is childish." I didn't answer. She tried the handle. Locked. "You can't just lock yourself away every time you're upset," Courtney said through the door. Silence. "Fine. Be that way." Her footsteps retreated down the hall. Day 3, the text started. "Can we talk after work?" I saw it. Didn't open it. "You're really going to ignore me?" Didn't open that one either. This is so petty. I let them stack up. Unread. Little digital breadcrumbs of her growing panic. By day 4, she changed tactics. When I came home, there was a bottle of wine on the counter. 2 glasses. She was sitting on the couch in the living room, magazine in her lap, trying to look casual. "Hey," she said as I walked in. Her tone was lighter, almost friendly. I thought maybe we could just talk, clear the air. I looked at the wine, at her, at the performance she was staging. "I don't drink on Thursdays," I said evenly, which was true, but thanks. I walked to the guest room. "Brian, seriously?" Her voice rose. "I'm trying here." I closed the door, locked it. She didn't knock that night, but at 11:47, my phone buzzed. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it like that. I was just tired and stressed. Can we please move past this?" I read it, then set the phone face down and went to sleep. The next morning, Friday, I was gone before she woke up. Early breakfast meeting with a client in the city. Real meeting, not an excuse. But the timing worked in my favor. When I got home that evening, she was in the kitchen with a glass of gin. Not wine. Gin. That's when I knew the panic was setting in. Wine was her social drink. Gin was her father's drink. And she hated her father. "How long are you going to keep this up?" she demanded as I walked past. I paused, looked at her directly for the first time in days. "Keep what up?" I asked calmly. "This." She gestured at the space between us. The silent treatment. The locked doors. Acting like I don't exist. "You said you're not playing wife," I replied. "I'm just honoring that boundary. Isn't that what you wanted?" Space. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "I didn't mean." "You did," I said. "And I believed you." I walked to the guest room and shut the door. That night, she texted 4 more times. "Please, we need to fix this. I miss you. Answer me." I didn't open a single one, because the moment I responded, she'd know I was still reachable, that there was still a string she could pull. But the theater was closed. The lights were off, and she was starting to realize she'd been performing for an empty house all along. By the end of the first week, Courtney realized silence wasn't a phase. It was a strategy, and she needed reinforcements. Sunday morning, she called her sister Stephanie. I heard her voice from the guest room, that forced casual tone she used when she was trying to control a narrative. "Hey Steph, it's me. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Listen, I just wanted to check in. Brian's been acting really strange lately." I kept working on my laptop, reviewing the final documents for a healthcare merger closing on Tuesday. Numbers don't lie. People do. "No, nothing like that," Courtney continued. "He's just distant. Cold. Won't talk to me. I don't know what I did." I almost laughed. She knew exactly what she did. 15 minutes later, her voice got quieter, tighter. "Okay. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Thanks, Steph." The call ended abruptly. No warm goodbye. No plans to meet up. Just the hollow click of someone who'd been politely dismissed. That afternoon, she tried Colin, my best friend since college, the guy who stood up at our wedding, who'd endured Courtney's passive-aggressive comments at every barbecue for 15 years and still showed up with a smile. I was in the garage, organizing my tools, moving things I'd need, leaving behind what I didn't. Through the open window, I heard her voice. "Hey, Colin, it's Courtney. Is Brian okay? He's been really off this week." Pause. "Oh, he told you we're having issues." Longer pause. Her voice tightened. "I see. Well, if you talk to him, can you tell him to call me?" Colin's response must have been short, because 5 seconds later she said, "Right. Okay. Thanks." Click. I continued sorting. Wrenches on the left. Screwdrivers on the right. Everything categorized. Everything accounted for. Monday, she got desperate. She called my barber. Pat's been cutting my hair for 12 years. Old school Italian guy who runs a two-chair shop downtown. The kind of place where men go to think, not talk. I found out about the call later that afternoon when I stopped in for my usual trim. "Your wife called," Pat said, cape snapping around my shoulders. "I know. Want to know if you'd mentioned anything weird lately." He made air quotes with his scissors. "What did you tell her? That you want it short on the sides, neat on top, same as always." Pat grinned in the mirror. That wasn't what she meant, but it was all she's getting from me. I nodded. "Appreciate that. You doing all right?" he asked, clippers buzzing to life. "Better than I've been in years." That night, Courtney was waiting in the living room when I got home. Arms crossed, face tight. "You turned everyone against me," she said. I set my keys on the counter. "I didn't turn anyone. I just stopped carrying you." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means people like me for me," I said. "Not because I was your husband. You're just figuring that out now." Her jaw clenched. "So this is about ego? About proving you're better than me?" "No," I said calmly. "This is about me finally believing I deserve better than someone who treats marriage like a part-time job." I walked to the guest room. She didn't follow. But later that night, I noticed something. Small things around the house. The wedding album on the dining table. A framed photo of us in nap on the kitchen counter. An old anniversary card I'd written her, propped against the toaster. Breadcrumbs. Reminders. Little emotional landmines designed to make me nostalgic, guilty, soft. I left them exactly where she placed them. Didn't touch a single one. Because nostalgia is just a prettier word for denial. And I was done living in the past. Saturday morning. 8:12 a.m., Courtney shot upright in bed, phone glowing in her hand. I was already awake in the guest room, going through emails. The notification was simple. Blue icon. Familiar bank logo. Subject line. Joint checking account. Closure confirmation. I heard her footsteps hit the hallway 30 seconds later. Fast. Angry. She didn't knock. Just tried the handle. Still locked. "Brian." Her voice was sharp. "Open this door. Now." I took a sip of coffee. Waited. "You closed the account?" She was shouting now. "You emptied it." I opened the door. She stood there, phone clutched like evidence, hair a mess, still in her pajamas. "I restructured our finances," I said calmly. "The joint account was closed. Funds were transferred to a new account under my name. You're no longer an authorized user." Her face went pale. "You can't do that." "I can. I was the primary account holder. You were authorized. I revoked that authorization." "Where's the money?" "Somewhere you don't have access to." "That's my money too." I corrected. "Now it's mine. Legally." She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. "What about bills? The mortgage? Insurance? All transferred to your name," I said. "Electric, water, gas, car insurance, phone plan, streaming services. Everything. You're the primary account holder now. Congratulations. I don't even know the passwords." "You should probably reset them then." "This is insane," she yelled. "You're doing this just to punish me." "No," I said evenly. "I'm doing this because you said you're not playing wife. So I'm not playing husband. That includes financial management. You wanted independence? Here it is." I closed the door. She pounded on it. "Brian, this isn't fair." "Life rarely is." I called through the wood. "But it's legal. Check with a lawyer if you want." Her footsteps retreated. I heard her in the kitchen, laptop clicking open, frantically trying to access accounts she'd never paid attention to. Bills she'd never seen. Passwords she'd never needed because I'd always handled everything. The utilities. The subscriptions. The car payments. The insurance premiums. The property taxes. I'd built the infrastructure, maintained it, paid for it, and she'd lived in it without a second thought. Like electricity and water just magically appeared because the universe owed her comfort. Now she was learning what it cost to run a life. By afternoon, she'd managed to access 2 accounts. The rest were locked behind two-factor authentication routed to my email. She called me. I didn't answer. She texted, "This is financial abuse." I replied, "No, this is financial equality. Welcome to adulthood." That evening, I came home to find her on the couch, surrounded by papers, bills, statements, spreadsheets she'd printed but clearly didn't understand. She looked up at me, exhausted. "I can't do all this," she said quietly. "You'll figure it out," I said, "or you'll hire someone. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. Brian, please. I'm sorry. Can we just reset? Go back to normal?" I looked at her, really looked, and I saw someone who wasn't sorry for what she'd said. She was sorry for what it cost her. "There is no normal," I said. "There's just what happens next." I walked to the guest room, locked the door, and went back to reviewing contracts. Outside, the wind picked up. The house settled, and for the first time in 15 years, it didn't feel like home. It felt like a property I was divesting from. Clean, methodical, final. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in a conference room downtown, finalizing terms for a tech acquisition. My phone buzzed. "Madison." I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Hey, Maddie. Everything okay? Can we meet?" Her voice was tight, controlled. "Just you and me. Coffee or something?" "Of course." "When?" "Today. After your work." I checked my watch. 3:30. "I can do 5. The usual place." "Yeah. Thanks, Brian." She hung up before I could ask what this was about. At 5, I walked into the cafe near her campus. Madison was already there, nursing an iced latte, laptop closed in front of her. She looked tired, stressed. When she saw me, she tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. I sat down across from her. "What's going on?" She took a breath. "Mom called me last night, 3 times, then texted me like 15 times. I waited. She wanted me to talk to you. To convince you to, I don't know. Come back." Stop ignoring her. She was crying. Madison looked down at her cup. I've never heard her cry like that. "What did you tell her?" I asked quietly. "I told her I'd talk to you." She paused. "But honestly, Brian, I don't even know what to say. She won't tell me what happened. Just that you're being cruel and punishing her for no reason." I leaned back in my chair. "Did she tell you what she said to me?" "No. She just said she made one comment, and you freaked out." I nodded slowly, pulled out my phone, opened my voice memo app. I'd started recording our conversations 2 weeks ago. Not for court. For clarity. For moments like this. I found a file from that night. Hit play. Courtney's voice came through, clear and cold. "Don't touch me. I'm not playing wife tonight." Then mine. "Perfect. You never will be again." Madison's face went still. She stared at the phone like it had just shown her something obscene. I stopped the recording. That's what she said. When I tried to hug her, like I always did. Madison sat back, eyes wide. She said that, word for word. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at me, and I saw something shift in her expression. Not anger, understanding. "Brian," she said carefully, "I need to tell you something." I waited. "Last year, Mom told me she thought you were settling. That you stayed with her because it was comfortable, not because you loved her. She said you weren't ambitious enough, that you'd never really be successful." My jaw tightened. "She said that to you?" "Yeah, multiple times. She'd compare you to her friends' husbands, their houses, their jobs. She made it sound like you were some kind of, I don't know, charity case." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not surprise. Confirmation. "Maddie, I need you to know something," I said. "I love you like you're my own daughter. I have since you were 5 years old. None of this changes that." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know. And honestly, you've been more of a father to me than Greg ever was. Your mom and I are done," I said quietly. "But you and I aren't. That's separate. Understand?" She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you have a plan? Like, are you leaving? Divorcing her?" "Yes." She absorbed that, then nodded. "Good." I blinked. "Good. Brian, I've watched you take care of her for 15 years. Pay for everything. Fix everything. Handle everything. And she's never once said thank you. Not really. I see it. I've always seen it. Maddie, I'm not picking sides, she said. But if I were, I'd pick you. Because you actually showed up. We sat there in silence for a moment. Then she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Whatever you need, she said. I'm here. I squeezed back. Thank you. When I got home that night, Courtney was waiting. She knew Madison and I had met. What did you tell her? She demanded. The truth, I said. You turned my own daughter against me. No, I said calmly. You did that yourself. I walked to the guest room and closed the door. Behind me, I heard her start to cry. Real sobs this time. Not manipulation. Not performance. Just the sound of someone finally understanding what she'd lost. The letter arrived on a Thursday. Plain envelope. No return address. Postmarked from Denver. Inside, a single handwritten note on hotel stationery. Brian, we haven't met, but I think we should. I'm in town next week for business. Wednesday, 6 p.m., Miller's Tavern downtown. I'll be at the bar. Greg Hamilton. I stared at the note for a long time. Greg Hamilton. Courtney's first husband. Madison's biological father. The man who'd walked out on them when Maddie was 2 years old and never looked back. What the hell did he want? Wednesday came. I arrived at Miller's at 5:50. Scanned the bar. A man in his early 50s sat alone at the far end, nursing a scotch. Graying hair. Expensive watch. Tired eyes. He saw me, nodded, and gestured to the empty stool beside him. I sat. The bartender came over. Bourbon, I said. Neat. Greg waited until my drink arrived. Then he raised his glass. To bad decisions and worse wives, he said. I didn't drink to that. Just looked at him. You're wondering why I'm here, Greg said. The thought crossed my mind. He took a sip. Madison called me 2 weeks ago. First time in 8 years. Told me you and Courtney are splitting up. We are. Good. He set his glass down. Let me save you some time and a lot of money. I know what she told you about me. That I was a deadbeat. That I abandoned them. That I was cruel or distant or whatever version she spun over the years. Something like that. It's bullshit, Greg said. All of it. I waited. Courtney and I were married for 4 years. The first 2 were fine. The last 2 were hell. She'd ice me out for days. Belittle me in front of friends. Make me feel like I was never good enough. Never doing enough. Never being enough. And then, one night, I came home from work and tried to kiss her hello. My stomach dropped. She stepped back. Greg continued, his voice flat. Said, I'm not playing wife tonight. Like it was a role she could just clock out of. I felt the air leave my lungs. I left the next day, Greg said. Filed for divorce a week later. She got full custody of Madison because I didn't fight it. I was broken. Burned out. I just wanted away from her. But you disappeared, I said. Madison thinks you didn't care. I sent child support every month for 16 years, Greg said. Never missed a payment. Courtney told Madison I never sent a dime. She pocketed the money and lied. I stared at him. Why didn't you fight that? Because I was a coward, he admitted. I didn't want to go back into that courtroom. Didn't want to see her face. Didn't want to relive it. So I sent the checks and told myself Madison would figure it out when she was older. He pulled out his phone. Showed me a scanned image. Bank statements. Years of them. Child support payments. Every single month. $1,800. For 16 years. Jesus, I muttered. She does this, Greg said quietly. She finds good men. Stable men. Men will take care of her. And then she drains them until there's nothing left. When you're empty, she moves on. Why are you telling me this? Because Madison deserves to know the truth, he said. And because you deserve to know you're not crazy. This isn't on you. It's her. It's always been her. I took a long drink. Let burn. Does Madison know you're here? Not yet. But I'd like to see her. If she's willing. I'll talk to her, I said. Greg nodded. One more thing. When you file for divorce, get a forensic accountant. Courtney's hiding money. She did it to me. And I guarantee she's doing it to you. Find it before she moves it. We sat in silence for a moment. 2 men. Different generations. Same trap. Thanks, I said finally. Don't thank me, Greg replied. Just get out while you still can. I left the bar at 7:30. Drove home in silence. When I walked in, Courtney was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up. I didn't say a word. Just went to the guest room, locked the door, and started making calls. The Forbes notification came through on a Tuesday morning. I was reviewing acquisition documents when my phone buzzed. Tech startup Neuralink acquired by Microsoft for $47 million. Early investors see major returns. I clicked the article. Scroll down. There it was. My name. Listed among the early-stage investors who'd backed the company 7 years ago. I'd put in $25,000 back in 2018. A calculated risk on a friend's AI project. I'd mentioned it to Courtney once. She'd rolled her eyes and called it throwing money away on tech nonsense. My share of the acquisition, $4.2 million. The wire transfer would hit my account in 30 days. I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. $4.2 million. After taxes, roughly $2.8 million. Money Courtney had no legal claim to because I'd invested it before we were married, and the prenup I'd insisted on protected premarital assets and their appreciation. She didn't even know the prenup existed. We'd signed it at a party, 4th of July 2009, at her friend's lake house. She'd been 3 glasses of champagne deep, laughing with her friends, barely reading it. My lawyer had been thorough. Very thorough. That evening, I came home to find Courtney on her laptop at the kitchen table. Her face was pale. "When were you going to tell me?" she asked, turning the screen toward me. Forbes article. My name highlighted. "I just found out this morning," I said calmly. $4 million. Her voice was shaking. "You have $4 million coming, and you didn't think to mention it." 4.2, I corrected. "Before taxes. We could pay off the house. We could travel. We aren't doing anything," I said. "That money is mine. From an investment I made before we got married. We're married. What's yours is mine." Actually, no. I pulled out my phone, opened the PDF of our prenuptial agreement, showed her the signature page. Her signature, dated July 4th, 2009. Her face went white. "What is this?" "A prenup. You signed it. At the Henderson's lake house. Remember? You were drinking champagne. Said it was just a formality, and signed without reading." She stared at the document like it was written in a foreign language. "This can't be legal." "It is. You had independent counsel available. You chose not to use it. That's on you. You tricked me. I gave you a legally binding contract, and you signed it without reading," I said. "That's not trickery. That's negligence." Her hands were shaking. "So you're just going to keep millions of dollars to yourself while I'm drowning in bills?" "Yes. That's not fair." "Life rarely is," I said. "But it's legal." She stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "You cold, calculating man. You planned all of this." "I prefer prepared," I said. "But bastard works too." I walked to the guest room. Behind me, I heard her sobbing. Not the performative kind. The real, ugly kind that comes when you realize you've lost something you never actually had. The next morning, she called her lawyer. I knew because she was screaming into her phone in the living room when I left for work. By afternoon, she calmed down. "Send me a text. Can we please talk about this like adults? I'm sorry for calling you names. We can work something out." I didn't respond. That evening, I met with my own attorney. We drafted the divorce papers. Clean. Simple. Citing irreconcilable differences. The prenup made everything straightforward. No alimony. No division of premarital assets. No claims on my business income or investments. She'd get the house. The car in her name. Whatever was left in her personal accounts. I'd get everything else. My lawyer looked at me over his glasses. "She's going to fight this." "Let her," I said. "The prenup is ironclad." "What about Madison?" "Madison's 20. Legally an adult. But I'm setting up a trust fund for her. $500,000. For grad school or whatever she needs. Separate from the divorce." He nodded approvingly. "That's good of you." "She's my daughter," I said. "Even if the marriage is over." I signed the papers. The process was in motion. When I got home, Courtney was waiting. "We need to talk about the money," she said. "There's nothing to talk about." "Brian, please. I'm sorry for how I acted. I'm sorry for everything. Can't we just start over? Forget all this happened." I looked at her, really looked, and I saw someone who wasn't sorry for hurting me. She was sorry for losing access to my resources. "No," I said. "We can't." "Why not?" "Because the day you told me you weren't playing wife, I stopped playing husband. And unlike you, I don't go back on my word." I walked to the guest room and closed the door. Outside, thunder rumbled. The storm was coming, but I was already inside. Dry, safe, prepared. Courtney started therapy. I knew because she left the business card on the kitchen counter where I'd see it. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, Ph.D., specializing in relationship counseling and narcissistic personality patterns. Subtle, real subtle. 2 weeks later, she tried a different approach. Came to the guest room door one evening, knocked softly. "Brian? Dr. Walsh suggested we might benefit from couples counseling. Would you consider it?" I opened the door. "No, just one session. Please. To get closure if nothing else." I studied her face. She looked tired, desperate, maybe even genuine. "Fine," I said. "One session. But I'm picking the therapist." "Okay," she said quickly. "Whoever you want." I called Dr. Richard Brennan, a psychologist Colin had recommended. Someone who specialized in high-conflict divorces and didn't tolerate manipulation. The session was scheduled for Thursday at 4. We sat in Dr. Brennan's office, on opposite ends of a long couch. He was a man in his 60s, gray beard, calm eyes. He looked at both of us, and then focused on Courtney. "Why don't you start?" he said. "Tell me what brought you here." Courtney launched into her version. How I'd become distant, cold. How I'd locked myself away over one comment and refused to communicate. How I was financially punishing her. How she just wanted her husband back. Dr. Brennan listened, took notes, then turned to me. "Your perspective?" I pulled out my phone, played the recording. Courtney's voice filled the room. "Don't touch me. I'm not playing wife tonight. Mine. Perfect. You never will be again." Dr. Brennan's expression didn't change. He just nodded. "And how did that make you feel, Brian?" "Relieved," I said. She finally said out loud what she'd been communicating for years. That our marriage was a performance she was tired of. "That's not what I meant," Courtney said. Dr. Brennan held up a hand. "Mrs. Carlson, let him finish." "I'm done," I said. "That's all I need to say." Dr. Brennan turned to Courtney. "Do you love your husband?" She blinked. "Of course I do." "What?" Silence. "Mrs. Carlson, can you tell me why you love your husband?" Specifically. She opened her mouth, closed it, started again. "He's stable. He provides. He takes care of things. Those are functions," Dr. Brennan said gently. "Not feelings. Do you love him as a person, or do you love what he does for you?" Her face went red. "That's not fair. It's a simple question." She looked at me, then at the doctor, then down at her hands. "I don't know," she whispered. Dr. Brennan turned to me. "Brian, do you love your wife?" "I did," I said. "For a long time. But love isn't enough when the other person sees you as an employee, not a partner." He nodded, made another note, then looked at Courtney. "Mrs. Carlson, I'm going to be direct with you. What you're describing isn't a marriage in crisis. It's a contract dispute. You're upset because the terms have changed and you didn't authorize it. But your husband has every right to renegotiate or terminate a relationship where he feels undervalued." "So you're taking a side?" she said. "I'm not taking sides," Dr. Brennan replied. "I'm telling you the truth. And the truth is, you've treated your husband like a service provider. Now he's resigned. You can't force someone to keep working for you, especially when you've made it clear you don't appreciate the work." Courtney stood up. "This is ridiculous. You're both ganging up on me." "Mrs. Carlson." "No, I'm done." She grabbed her purse and walked out. The door slammed. Dr. Brennan looked at me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Better than I've been in years." "That prenup you mentioned, it's solid. Ironclad. Good. Because she's going to try every angle to break it. Don't engage. Don't negotiate. Just execute. That's the plan." He stood, shook my hand. "You're doing the right thing. Hardest part is over." I left his office and walked to my car. The sun was setting. The air was cool, clear. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The invitation arrived in heavy cardstock. Gold lettering. The annual Thornhill Foundation Gala. The event Courtney and I had attended together for 12 years straight. This year, I was going alone. I arrived at 7:15. The Grand Bellamy Hotel ballroom. Chandeliers glittering like frozen stars. String quartet, playing something classical and forgettable. I wore a new suit. Navy. Tailored. Sharp. I felt different. Lighter. Like I'd finally stopped carrying someone else's weight. Colin met me near the bar. "Looking good, man. How you holding up?" "Better than expected," I said. "Courtney coming?" "Probably. She never misses this thing." "You ready for that?" I smiled. "Yeah, I am." At 7:40, she arrived. Black dress. High slit. Hair perfectly styled. She scanned the room, and when her eyes found me, they widened. I was standing with a group of investors I'd met through the NeuralSync deal. Successful people. Sharp people. And next to me, Dr. Sarah Torres. A venture capitalist I'd known for years. Brilliant, elegant, and tonight, my plus one. Not romantic. Not yet. But the possibility hung in the air like expensive perfume. Courtney started walking toward us. Sarah noticed. That her? Sarah asked quietly. Yeah. Want me to run interference? No need, I said. She can't touch me anymore. Courtney reached our circle. Forced smile in place. Brian, she said. I didn't know you were coming. Why wouldn't I? I said calmly. I've been a donor for 8 years. Her eyes flicked to Sarah. Back to me. I thought maybe we could talk. After. There's nothing to talk about, I said. The divorce papers were filed yesterday. You'll be served Monday. Her face went pale. You filed? Yes. Without even telling me. You got the same courtesy you gave our marriage, I said. None. People around us had gone quiet. Not obvious. Just that subtle shift when important conversations happen in public spaces. Courtney's voice dropped. Brian, please. Not here. Then leave, I said. Because I'm staying. She stood there for another beat, then turned and walked toward the exit. Her heels clicked on marble. The sound got quieter, then disappeared. Sarah looked at me. You okay? Yeah, I said. I really am. The rest of the evening was smooth. I networked, laughed, made plans for future investments. Around 9:30, I stepped outside for air. Madison was waiting by the fountain. She'd driven down from Northwestern. Hey, she said. Mom called me. She's pretty upset. I know. She said you embarrassed her in there. I told her the truth, I said. That's all. Madison nodded. Good. She needed to hear it. She paused. I met Greg last week. He told me about the child support. About everything. How do you feel about that? Angry, she said. But not at him. At her. For lying to me my whole life. I pulled her into a hug. You're going to be okay, Maddie. I know, she said. Because I have you. When I got home that night, the house was empty. Courtney had left. Just packed a bag and gone to her sister's, according to the note on the counter. I walked through the rooms. The guest room where I'd slept for weeks. The kitchen where she'd tried to manipulate me back. The living room where it all ended. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a building I was about to vacate. And that was fine, because home isn't a place. It's a feeling. And I hadn't felt a home here in years. For months later, the divorce was finalized. Clean. Simple. The prenup held up without a single crack. Courtney's lawyer had tried every angle. Argued arrests. Claimed she didn't understand what she was signing. Even suggested I'd deliberately gotten her drunk. The judge reviewed the evidence. The independent counsel clause. The 2-week waiting period before signing. The notarized statements. Denied. Every single motion. Courtney got the house. The car in her name. Her personal accounts. About $80,000 total. I got everything else. The investments, the business income, the neural sync payout, my retirement accounts, the new condo I bought downtown, no alimony, no ongoing obligations. Madison got her trust fund, $500,000, managed by an independent trustee until she turned 25. She cried when I told her, called me the best father she'd ever had. That made everything worth it. I was sitting in my new place when Colin called. Heard Courtney's engaged, he said. Already. I asked. To who? Some regional manager she met at a conference. Older guy. Retired executive. I laughed. Of course she is. You okay with that? Colin, I don't care what she does. She's not my problem anymore. Fair enough. Hey, Sarah Torres asked about you yesterday. Said you two should get coffee. Yeah. I think she's interested. Maybe I'll call her, I said. You should. You deserve someone who actually appreciates you. After we hung up, I walked to the window. The city stretched out below. Lights. Movement. Life. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Brunch tomorrow? I want to hear about your new place. I smiled and typed back. Absolutely. My treat. Another text came through. Sarah. Hey, stranger. Still up for that coffee we talked about? I hesitated. Then typed. How about dinner instead? Her response came fast. Perfect. Friday at 7. It's a date. I set the phone down and looked around my condo. Modern. Clean. Mine. No old photos on the walls. No wedding albums on tables. No reminders of a life I'd outgrown. Just space. Potential. Freedom. Courtney had asked me once, right before the divorce was finalized, if I ever regretted walking away. I told her the truth. The only thing I regretted was not walking away sooner. Because the moment she told me she wasn't playing wife, I should have believed her immediately. Should have packed my bags that night. Should have trusted my gut instead of hoping she'd change. But I didn't. I'd given her weeks, months, chances she never deserved. Not anymore. Now I was 48 years old, financially secure, emotionally free, and for the first time in 15 years, I was building a life on my terms. No performances, no scripts, no pretending, just me, living, finally, and that felt better than any marriage ever had.